They're watching you right now. What do you
I
say?
should go back to the fucking country and stop fucking with mine. Straight up. You guys destroyed my fucking industry. You guys think you're doing well and you're successful because you're able to get trucks. Because you're charging fucking LMI drivers $40,000 to start. That's enough for a down payment for any fucking brand new truck. And then you guys pay them cents on the dollar, even if you fucking pay them. And also you guys neglect fucking maintenance. You guys are not smart business guys. You guys are not good for the industry. You guys are fucking everything up. And the government, I don't know why the fuck they allowed you guys to do this, but it's unacceptable. Now think, what if I came into your fucking country and did this bullshit? Would you like it?
Sonny, and he is here with me today. Sonny, how are you? Do you want to tell people your last name? Is it public yet?
No, I would rather just leave my last name out because I don't want this to affect my family.
That's fair. You're here with Media Bezirgan's Mocha Bezirgan. Can we say hello to Mocha as well? Friend of the show.
How are you
looking
doing?
Mocha's looking tired. He's always traveling across the country, but handsome and Turkish as well. Sonny, this has got this one clip we just showed has gotten, I think, how many hundreds of thousands? 230,000. The full video is at 530,000 on X alone. I don't know where else it was published, but can you sort of give context to your statements there? Most people will understand after watching it. You're talking about the trucking industry. Can you give context to your comments and where you're seeing the effect of immigration on your industry?
Brother, when I started off in trucking myself, I was 18 years old and I was a mechanic. When I got my CDL, it was impossible for me to even get a job because I didn't have enough experience. I met a I applied at a very good company that offered to hire me on as a mechanic, and they were willing to put me through a full truck driving training program so then they could put me on the road. And at that time, insurance companies wouldn't insure me either. So I had to fight to become like a trucker. And I started with like a lot of knowledge, and I took it seriously from the beginning. But the people that come now, they just think you could just put on your flip flops and drive down the road, not thinking about any mistake you make, any small mistake, can hurt people.
So your comments, I think, got a lot of people sharing, and a lot of people, especially in conservative politics, because they're seeing this large uptick in immigration that is taking over almost every industry: fast food, retail, even places where you would think that a teenager would be working, a teenager born here. And your comments are coming off the back of that big viral video of the accident from the truck driver in Florida, I believe it is, where you're seeing this being a problem of the people, like you say, coming in and just driving in their flip-flops. Are you seeing this only in Canada? Are you seeing this in companies that are coming from the US as well?
I'm seeing it mostly in Canada because I think there was like, I don't know what happened with COVID. You just seen way too many of these people. And now for me, myself, like I go to Tim Hortons every day. Sometimes I don't even want to because I have to explain my order three, four times and it's like wrong half of the time. And I love going to Tim Hortons in the morning, brother.
Yeah. This is definitely a problem. I've pretty much boycotted Tim Hortons, the ones that I live near, because their service is so bad and you can't get an order across as well. And, in the trucking industry, people don't think about how, the licensing that gets involved, that's involved with it, how dangerous it can be if you're not qualified. What percentage of people, of new drivers would you say are, people from other countries these days?
80% maybe?
80%?
It seems like that, yeah.
Wow. Now, I know in the US they just instituted, or they had an executive order that instituted mandatory English language checks, and the person who drove that truck in Florida could not pass the language test. They could only recognize, I think it was 2 out of 5 road signs that they were tested on. What percentage of people of these people that have Canada to drive trucks, what percentage of people that have come to Canada to drive these trucks do you think would pass an English proficiency and a road test?
Half of them?
Just about half of them. Do you have a lot of interactions with these guys on a day-to-day basis?
No, because they're racist towards me.
The Indian guys?
Yeah.
What do they do?
They're just like really judgmental towards me because like, well, I smoke cigarettes, so I don't really look like a good person, I guess, to them. Like they're just weirdos. I don't know what it is. And then they always have this whole thing that I should be more successful than I am if I'm born here. They always just think they're smarter than us, and they're very like judgmental. Talking to them is just a waste of my time.
You mentioned that in the video that people have told you, how come you don't have your own business or a more successful business? Can you expand on that to people who didn't watch the entire video?
Yeah, that's what stupid people usually say because they don't understand like it's really tough and it's really tough to operate a business and not everybody wants one. Like don't really want one anyways. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of liability, there's a lot of people you got to take care of. Those people that you employ are going to have families, girlfriends, you have to deal with like their lifestyle and how you have to put food on their table. It's a lot of responsibility that I just can't really take. But they're just looking at the financial aspect of it that they're considering that they're going to be successful. But that is because they know that the LMI program exists, so they're just going to get money from the drivers anyways, and they're not going to operate trucking companies in a professional manner anyways. So anybody can do it then.
So, what are those professional manners? I know you mentioned, I would imagine like workable or livable wages. What were some of the other aspects? You said maintenance. What other stuff is there?
Sometimes, like with these Indian trucking companies, they will lie to you and say that your load is ready. So they'll tell you to come at the yard like 8 o'clock in the morning, and your load will be ready at like 2 p.m. So you already sat on the yard for like 6 hours, and they expect you to drive like a full day shift, and you're like tired. It's not safe. So their time management skills are just horrible. And then if you tell them like, oh, like do an oil change hypothetically, right? You'll go to the yard, they'll say like, yeah, they did it, but they didn't even do it. So now you don't even feel like leaving. These Indian trucking companies, for some reason, they don't even care if your truck has heat or AC. Nobody can even drive your car without AC for like an hour or two. They expect us to drive for 4 days straight without AC and sleep in the trucks. That just causes us to get sick when we get back.
So, what you're saying is like so you've worked for a couple of these companies.
Yeah, that's why I found out myself. I worked for three of them.
So you work for three of the companies, and they're not providing this stuff. What happens then if you're out on the road and something breaks down?
That's the thing. They don't pick up the phone. They don't know how to speak English. So then you have to find like repair shops yourself. And if even if you do find a repair shop yourself, you don't even know if they're gonna pay you. And then they always like tell you to like just figure it out. Like if you have a blown tire, they expect you to drive or cut it off with with a hacksaw or something like that and just drive. They just find any shortcut. They'll never do anything the right way. If there's an airline leak, they'll just be like, oh, just figure out a way to like tape it or something like that. Like they'll never do anything properly. They always find a shortcut.
How dangerous is it to do something like that and drive this large vehicle after taping one of the airlines up?
Super dangerous, brother. Because if the air completely leaks, then you're driving down the road, and now if you have no air, and then your brakes lock
Yeah.
up, now your brakes just seized. There's
So
so many things that could go. We're not. I know a little bit about trucks as a mechanic, but I'm not an engineer. I'm definitely not smart enough to like figure out an alternative on how to move the equipment and to fix things.
So a lot of people that I speak to, because I'm in favor of drastically reducing immigration numbers for reasons like this, for there being too many people working that are foreigners working in these places that have ruined these industries. If somebody was to say to you, well, if we send all these people back, for example, who's going to drive these trucks? What's your answer for that?
We have enough workers. There was never a trucking shortage, anyways. Like these companies that are expanding, that are just popping out of nowhere, these Indian companies, they'll hire like 300 drivers for like 50 trucks because they're not paying people, so they just create a revolving door.
Hmm.
But we don't need any more truckers. We have more than enough here.
So they're starting these companies and what they're bidding lower on jobs, or how does that work? How are they getting so many of the contracts?
Let's say hypothetically, I don't know the numbers because I'm not in the office. Let's say like to run a semi truck down the road, you need to make $2 a mile. That covers the lease payments, the maintenance, the insurance, all the overhead costs, and the driver pay. But now, if you take out the driver pay, now you can reduce a little bit more. And if you don't care about maintenance, you can reduce a little bit more. Right now, because of the economy and the Indian companies that bought a lot of trucks in COVID, they are going under $2 a mile, and they're operating at a loss
How are they able to survive with that?
because they're not paying the drivers.
Sorry, I think your fingers on the mic or something like that. Yeah,
Because
they're
they're not
not.
paying their drivers and they're not paying their office staff. There's a lot of Indian trucking companies that have like hundreds of thousands of dollars of bills that they owe to mechanics that they haven't even paid. And the worst, what they are also, what also they do is like if a trucking company, let's just say ABC, has 10 trucks, they'll start another corporation called BCB, and then they'll split the trucks in it. Then they'll file bankruptcy on the first company so they don't have to pay that loan, and then they'll go on the second one, but they don't care.
So I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but a lot of people think that when these people, and I'll just say, I mean, is it mostly Indian guys? Is it all Indian guys?
Based on like what I see in my community, yes, but other other people do it. But if some Russian company is doing this, they're not going to hire me
I
because
s-
they're just going to primarily keep Russians and Indian people. Like, I don't know why these companies even hired me. Like, yeah, they know I'm Canadian, but obviously didn't think I was going to go viral or say something, right? But like these Indian guys that are like stuck, they're trying to get their PRs, they're trying to get their LMIs, their work permits are closed with these companies. They can't even go anywhere. What are they supposed to say?
Can you tell people what PRs and LMIAs are?
LMIA is like a program. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's basically a system that the government set up for companies in Canada that is able to hire foreign workers because they can't find enough employees. And then
Something.
the PR
Hmm.
is a permanent residency, like how you guys have
Right.
your green card, I'm assuming.
Now, something else you may, if you're asking me if I have my green card, I don't know what Mocha's a citizen, right, Mocha?
Yes.
Mocha's a citizen of Constantinople. Anyways, just a joke there, Mocha. You mentioned in your video also something that I think hits home a lot for people. That the way these companies are being operated, especially with what you mentioned with bankruptcy, filing, air quotes, alleged false bankruptcies, they have a place to go back to if they're avoiding their bills, if they're avoiding collectors, if they don't want to pay for anything, this, that, and the other. They have a country to go back to. And we don't as Canadians. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Have you seen or witnessed people just fleeing the country when things go to shit, basically?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Because what they'll do is like obviously in business there's gonna be like good times and bad times. They ride out the good times as much as they can, and then they send money back home. So then they send money back home. They buy farms, pumps, whatever businesses they can. In a country like India, if you make like from what I heard, if you make like 200,000 rupees, which to us is like 4 grand a month, you're living like a king.
Mm-hmm.
So then they'll send money back, and then they build like their businesses there, and they always have the option. Like people that come here within like I think within like the new generation, like 10 years, they have it in their mindset to like go back. But like people in like my parents' generation, like I don't even think they can go back. I can't. Well, like never been there. But like other people that have been for like 10, 15 years, like they don't have it in their head to like really go back because they're like established. But also
Mm-hmm.
like these trucking company, like these guys that are starting trucking companies now, they're trying to reach limits. Like let's say like you're at 100 trucks. Mostly like if somebody has like 100 trucks, that's a 30-year business. These guys are trying to do it in 10. How is it possible? Everybody gets paid the same.
Now, what you mentioned there about your parents being immigrants, and this is something that I've talked to. I know a guy who's an Indian guy, whose father is a Sikh wearing Indian, and he doesn't like any of this either. And they came here. I call it like basically before COVID. I think is when and after COVID is when people really stopped kind of like vetting the people coming into this country for any given reason. When you talk about these things, or as you've been talking about them lately, have you witnessed or received any pushback from Indian people? I know when I've talked to Mocha and when Mocha's done stories, there's tons of whether it's spam comments or hate comments, just being like, it's because you don't work as hard as Indians, or, just you're a hateful racist bigot. Have you received any of that yet?
A little bit, yeah. So people are saying like you're going against your own community. Why would you do this and that? But just because I was born in an Indian family doesn't mean that's my community.
Yeah, and I think if somebody who just like heard the audio of your video, you have a pretty strong Canadian accent, no matter what you say. So if you could pass it over to Mocha, I wanted to ask him, Mocha, what brought you onto this story? How did you get in touch with Sonny for this viral video? Was it around a trucking protest, or how did you get in contact with him?
Well, I found it. It's a long story, but let's say destiny has caused us to cross paths, and I happened to be an investigative journalist, and he happened to be a trucker, and he explained to me how he was being forced to operate an unsafe vehicle, which he refused. And as a result, I said, "Hey, wow, you're refusing to operate unsafe equipment." And you know what? There's a story there. Would you like to do an interview? And he accepted, and we did the interview right there at the truck stop. And we both, I told him, like, this is going to be viral. This is going to go viral. And he knew it too. And then it went viral, but we're still surprised that it went viral, even though
What?
we knew it would.
Why do you think it went viral?
Because Sunny is basically expressing the frustration of all Canadians. And because he was authentic in his delivery, which was crude and um, full of, what's the term?
Vulgarities?
Vulgarities, people liked it because it's an honest, authentic expression of thought. And I believe in freedom of expression and artistic expression. So I did not censor. I did not censor it, and I feel like he basically is a voice of the frustration of Canadians who don't want their highways to be death traps, who don't want trucking companies cutting corners. And I think Sunny is very articulate, and he is an insider. He's from the industry, and he is the expert, and he has spoken the truth. And a lot of people resonated with that. And some people who are in this corrupt industry perpetuating this corruption, obviously they're not happy with Sunny for exposing them. But Sunny has received a lot of positive comments. People are standing behind him. On TikTok, we are reaching 500,000 views. On Twitter, we surpassed 500,000 views. On YouTube, we're approaching 50,000 views. On Instagram, a few 10,000. And then many other pages have shared it, and comments are overwhelmingly supportive of Sunny for speaking out and exposing this corruption. And hopefully, he will inspire others to come forward, other minorities, other whites, other whoever who has the the temerity to come forward and speak out against this corruption.
Very well put, Mocha. We can give it back to Sunny now. I want to ask you, Sunny, as well. Why do you think this video went viral so quickly? Like as soon as I saw it, but I work in the news too, so I'm like, I know a viral video when I see one. Why do you think people have responded so passionately and positively to what you said?
I said what everybody thinks and feels, but just because I'm brown, I'm able to say it. Like a white guy can't say this. So it's like I was just like the right person at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. Do you you mentioned that other people have been racist to you, and that you didn't blame them because you're an Indian guy, or you look like a brown guy, you look like a guy from India. Um, you can talk about those experiences if you want, but it was interesting for you to say that you understand that because you don't like the people coming here either.
Well, yeah, brother. If you check like the news nowadays, like every single criminal activity in Canada is all Indian people. The towing frauds, bank frauds, the truck towing, the trucking companies. It's all the bad people are labeled as like they're all Indians. So obviously, like I've accepted as a community, you're gonna look at me like that too. Plus, I'm like tatted and I have like nose rings, so like kind of look like a criminal too. But like, so I
Well,
get what they're saying. So like,
what?
who are they supposed to blame? I don't know. I get it. It was never like this. Like Indian people before were like respected. We were good people. We were scared of the government. We followed all the laws. My parents never even got a speeding ticket. Like they were so scared. They never did nothing wrong. But these guys just don't care.
Why is that? What do you think is the difference now?
I think they're just raised like spoiled brats. I don't know what it really is. It doesn't make any sense because I to understand them more, I have to like go see how they live and how they're raised. But these guys come from a lot of money, it seems like too. They seems like they come from rich backgrounds. Like when my parents came here, they didn't have any money. Most like parents that came in my generation, they didn't have a lot of money. But these guys in India that come here, they come from places that are a little bit better than Canada. So I think like their financial situation is much better. And also like even me being born here as Indian, we don't have a lot of freedom. My parents don't let us go out. If we get like a white girlfriend, oh my God, forget about it. You're never gonna hear the end of it. You're never gonna hear the end of it. But now these guys finally like have money and their parents are letting them go to Canada and they have full freedom for the first time in their life. So they don't really know how to behave and maybe that's why they're acting a little bit recklessly. That goes for like people here too, like people that are born here in small towns or other cities when they go to college and university and get away from their parents' house, they do act a little bit recklessly. Everybody does it. So I think it's just that and also like making a transition to another country trying to understand their culture. It would be quite difficult. It'd be very difficult for me to go start a life in China. It would take a while for me to adapt.
Now, I think you touched on, the common theme of going to Hortons and not being able to understand the person, or them not having anything and not willing to make the stuff or making the coffee consistently. It's a lot of things, honestly. Other things people notice are, I think, standing in a group in the way, walking slowly across the street on your phone. Like, it has turned into this thing where you almost expect like Indian guys to just not know what's going on. Not the driving is a huge aspect of it, and standing in the middle of like an aisle or in a roadway. It's gotten to this point where you sort of expect these sort of things to happen, and it's very frustrating for lots of people. And what I've found is, whether it's black, white, or native or whomever, everybody's noticing this. So everybody's talking about immigration levels now. Have you thought about immigration levels? Have you thought about what you want that to look like? Do you have any? You don't have to give me a specific number if you think it's less, but have you thought about whether or not you think the country's full or not, or anything like that?
I think it's overflowing. I think there's way too many people. I think it actually has to reduce. I find it strange that the government always supports like immigration but doesn't really support us. Why don't you give us more baby bonuses? Why don't you make it easier for us to go to school? Our medical system got even more screwed up because of all the immigration, all these people. Like if we need to go to the doctor, like forget about it. Just lay in bed sick. But years ago, like when we didn't have all these people, it was easier to go to the hospital. There's just way too many people. Rents are too high, and like the other thing is like with Indian immigrants, only the Indian community benefits. Is the Indian guys that are buying houses that are leasing only to Indian people. It's the Indian employers only hire Indian people, and it's not even like they look after each other. They take each other down. They lie to each other. They don't even trust each other.
Can you expand on that? Because I know Mocha has reported on, the promises these guys get when they're coming to this country about how great it'll be, and then you're working in shit conditions and you're not getting paid very well, depending on your legal status, of course. Have you witnessed that sort of stuff where guys will come over and it will not be what they expected?
That's their fault. They don't listen. My own cousins are like that too. They'll be like, "Oh, I want to come to Canada." And I'll explain to them like, "Oh, I do this and that. This is how much I make, but I barely save anything after paying like rent, my car payments, insurance, this and that." They think I'm stupid with money. They think they could do better, and then they come here and they find out. So it's your fault. Like I don't care. I told them they don't listen because what they do is they just convert the currency. They convert like rupees to like dollars, and they think like, "Oh, this is so much money." They don't understand that like every currency is set for that country. Yeah, you could take like different currencies from other countries and think like it works out, but it's not set up like that. We don't have an international gold standard.
Mm-hmm. Are there somebody I spoke to recently? The guy who shared, and I know he probably had Mocha's permission, but the guy who posted the clip, the short clip, he has started or has joined a group that is pushing for deportations now. Would you go as far as to agree with that, or do you think just stop immigration?
Well, they're just gonna. Well, yeah, I would go to deportation and reduce immigration, brother. Like, if people want to come here as like a nurse and a doctor for things we need, yeah, sure. Like, I'm for that. Like, it's good. IT, certain fields. Like, we don't need like more people at Tim Hortons. Like, we don't need more people driving trucks. Like, we don't need more security guards. We're hiring more security guards to protect us from immigrants. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I just wanted to prepare you for Indian guy says Indians should be deported, because that will be coming from CBC or something. CBC or somebody's going to turn what you're saying into hate speech somehow, and then they're going to say that you've taken on, internalized white supremacy will be a term that will be used. I think, I don't know how much of this bullshit news you watch or listen to because you're busy doing a real job, but I think that's going to be coming.
I doubt it because majority of the Indian people that have been here for a long time, they feel the same way too. So they all agree. I just said it.
Well, the Indian people, everybody else will agree with you, but the white fat women at CBC will not agree with you, and they will write things about you. And then the people at CP24 will not cover it. You can just ask Mocha how that goes. Pretty much every single time. Is there anything else you want to mention about this? Is there anything else, any other opinions you want to get off your chest? People seem to really like what you've got to say. Like you said, it is sort of a right place, right time sort of thing. Is there anything else you think that's going on in the country that you want to voice your opinion about?
If those other people don't really like me, that's fine. I don't really care if stupid people like me or not. They know what the truth is. So like, whatever. Have a nice day. What my other thoughts on the country is? I don't know. I feel like not just me, but a lot of people probably feel this way about Canada. I think people that have been living here and been born here for the past like 5 years have been considering leaving too. I think
Yeah.
we're not even happy with our own country, the way that the government's working, the way that they're taxing us so much that we can't even afford to like really do anything. We're all trapped, we're all depressed. Obviously what they did with us in COVID was so unfair with the trucker protests and everything. It kind of seems like I think a lot of people do feel like Canadians are becoming like the new indigenous and immigrants are becoming the new Canadians.
Well, I think at this point you see most people flying the flag on like their lawn or something end up being immigrants, and people are gonna. I won't even mention the. Well, I'll mention it without mentioning it. The replacement theory, but I think that's playing out in real time for people of all races because I know people will say I'm just talking about white people. Uh, Mocha of Mocha Bezirgan and Media Bezirgan. Is there anything we're missing about this story? Is there anything that's being overlooked, perhaps, about the trucking industry that you've gotten insight on? I don't know why you're laughing. Anything that you've heard Sonny say, or any of the people working around him say that you think people deserve to know about?
Well, what we know, what we can publish is media. What we cannot publish is intelligence, is a lead that we need to look further into until an evidence that we can present to the public becomes available. In the corruption in the trucking industry case, Sunny has come forward as a witness, basically, to testify the corruption that's happening. We already knew what was happening in the industry, but we didn't have someone from inside the industry to come out and testify it. And basically, thanks to Sunny, now everyone is on the same page of where the corruption is at. I mean, in Ontario, we have a Khalistani minister of transportation, and then all the driving schools are run by Punjabis, and then trucking firms run by Punjabis as well, and then those who are issuing the license are Punjabis. The immigration firms are run by Punjabis. The drivers that are coming are Punjabis. So it's like one big ecosystem. And on the top, we have a Khalistani transportation minister. And the result is death, destruction, transnational narcotics trafficking. And it wasn't like this before. And it doesn't have to be like this. So I think people in power who assume responsibility, they need to be held accountable, and I think their politics needs to be put to sleep.
Very strong words. Are you saying there is going to be some stuff that's going to be exposed soon if the leads follow through?
I believe with Sunny's testimony, more victims, more whistleblowers will come
Mm-hmm.
forward and expose this corruption. And I think it's a great service to Canada and Canadians because the corruption in the trucking industry affects everyone. It affects our insurance rates. It affects, it puts public safety at risk, not just Canadians, but Americans too. Canadian government may not do anything about, you know, this corruption just because it affects Canadian lives. But if it affects American lives as well, when drivers go to US, unqualified drivers from Canada go to US and endanger American lives, then American government could put pressure on Canadian government to do something about it. And yeah, basically, if without the pressure from the American government, I don't think Canadian government cares about Canadian lives. Hence why it allowed things to get to this point where Canadian highways are a death trap and everyone is afraid.
So, final words, Sonny. I wanted to ask you. So, this is affecting the U.S. in terms of these companies are driving and delivering things down south as well.
Yeah, that's kind of strange too, because driving the U.S., like I drove in the U.S. too, is much more difficult to drive through the U.S. So I don't even know where they're going, why they're going there too. It's more dangerous for them to go from here to there. And then also, like, brother, I want people on the road to see trucks and feel safe, knowing that these guys are professionals and they know what they're doing. We are still going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. Anybody in your car is going to make mistakes. We obviously got to share the road together, and we all need to get from point A to point B safely. But if all this keeps happening and people don't feel safe on the roads because trucks are driving by them, behind them, this and that. And if people in cars are making irrational decisions and taking like turns without thinking, it could cause more collisions too, right? So we need to like everybody needs to operate safely too. And I'm saying this also as like a motorcyclist too. Like I got hit by a couple of immigrants, I don't even ride anymore. Because what's the point?
Oh, this guy's racist, Mocha. Where'd you get him from? So final thing here is, what do you want to say to Canadians? Because there will be, I guarantee you, some boomers saw your video and think you're racist and think you're exaggerating things and think that it's not nearly as bad as you're saying. What's your sort of your message to Canadians about the situation that we're in, and whether or not they should sort of, start paying more attention or start, speaking out against something?
I don't really know about that. I doubt anybody here is gonna speak out on it, to be honest, because I don't know. Like my own dad's like mad that I put this out. He's like, "Why would you do this? You're talking bad about your own community. Why would you do this?" So I don't think anybody is gonna really ever say anything, because I don't think nobody really cares. Everybody just focused on like paying their own bills. Nobody cares.